We used to say all the time that when you decide and you set your goal, two things happen. The first is that you get tested, and the second is that the universe conspires to help you, but not until you've proven that you want it bad enough. So it's almost like the universe says, are you sure you want to be $100,000 out of debt? Are you sure? Let's just see. And it puts these temptations or tests or trials in front of you. And then when you are like, yes, then the universe is like, well, I'm not messing with Lily. I'm getting out of her way. I'm going to go bug somebody else, because you almost like leap over or get out of the way of the obstacles. So no other obstacles even want to mess with you. And I think that that was what that crying situation was all about. Right. And I do agree with your daughter. I do think you just have to cry it out sometimes and have a little temper
Yes.
tantrum, then move
Yes.
forward.
That's what we all need.
Yeah.
Don't you love a good cry once in a while?
Oh,
Come
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
It's like cathartic. Let's get it out. Let's let all the boogers, everything. Just let her go.
How did you survive the polar vortex?
I didn't survive it.
Are
I'm
you
still
dead?
thawing out. I'm still thawing.
I was so worried about people that were unhomed. Like, I
I
just
know.
was ridiculous. And I think it happened to most of North America, though somebody did send me a stat that said it was warmer in Antarctica than it was in Canada.
Yeah, but somebody said also it's like summer in Antarctica. I mean, I think summer in
Oh, right.
Antarctica is still cold, but I said the same thing, and somebody's like, yeah, well, it's summer there, you dum dum. So you don't like to be cold, and you were bundled even in the summer.
I am.
So did you wear every piece of clothing that you own?
I did. I think the biggest problem are my nipples, frankly.
Oh,
Um, and so those little mitt warmers that you buy when you're skiing and you put them in your mitts
yeah, the
to keep
little,
your hands warm.
yes,
I
yes.
put those right in the front of my bra.
I don't think they're supposed to go there.
It was
Isn't that
glorious.
dangerous?
It was fantastic. It was so cold. And I was talking to my chest. I would look down and be like, look, I don't like this either. But you acting out right now is not going to make this better. And then I realized I just needed to warm them up, and it actually warmed up the rest of my body. So I don't actually know if my nipples are the thermostat or if they're the thermometer. I can't believe I'm being this crass and disgusting when we have such a poised, elegant, royal visitor today on the podcast.
Hmm. I'm pretty sure she would not talk as flippantly about her nipples as you.
I don't even know if beauty queens have nipples. I think they're like a Barbie underneath. You know what I mean? They just have the mounds.
Oh dear. I'm not asking her that.
Don't ask her. You get to meet one of my favorite people of all time. Oh, I feel terrible because she deserves such a great opener to this podcast, and I've just defiled it. She's honestly one of my favorite people. She is the most humble person. In fact, you're going to ask her about her accomplishments, which are huge. She's paid off six figures of debt in 4 years. And she's probably going to say something along the lines of, yeah, I worked really hard. And, but the depth of her character, when you see those like memes about the iceberg, and they show the iceberg on top and then they show how big the iceberg is under the water,
Hmm.
that's Lily. Or
Hmm.
when they show you like a cross section of a tree and there's a beautiful tree in a forest, and then they show you like how deep the roots go underneath, that's Lily. Like, you are going to meet somebody today who has not only just changed her financial future, but she's changed her entire life using the principles that we talk about all the time here. And I can't wait to have you two beauty queens unite.
Lily, tell me how you met Erin because I feel like I saw you at an event about 69 years ago, and then I haven't seen you again. So I don't even know how you know Erin. Tell me where the two of you met.
So I almost died in El Salvador. It's a long story.
Oh my
But
gosh.
after that experience, I thought I want to really live my best life and just live 100%. Because when something like that happens, you really take stock of everything and look at where you're at and maybe how you can, I guess, live to the fullest. So I had been posting about my experience, and one of my friends said, "You know what? You need to go to this thing called Transformation Weekend because it's going to level up your life and just really help you to find your goals, achieve your goals, and just really live your most authentic and just incredible life and be your true self. So I signed up, and that's how I met Erin.
So how long ago was that?
It was in 2016. So yeah, close to 69 years ago.
Okay, so how was that transformation weekend for you? What did you learn?
Oh, I learned so much. I had never been taught anything really in my life about setting goals, and I realized I didn't really know what I wanted, who I was. I was just kind of aimlessly like scrolling and wandering through my life without any real plan, and this helped so much to just kind of target my goals and see who I was as a person, what was important to me, where I wanted to be. And it's funny, I was looking through some of the materials from Transformation Weekend, and it was a list of about 100 things that I wanted to do. And I've done probably 80% of them now, which is really cool.
Oh yeah, that exercise is one of the really good ones. Erin, that's you do that at every transformation weekend, don't you?
Depends. There's different curriculum based on the people that are in the room. But what you need to know about Lily is Lily credits Transformation Weekend for this, but Lily had all this inside her the whole time. Like Lily walked into Transformation Weekend and everybody instantly fell in love with her. And she probably to this day could teach Transformation Weekend. So I know she's like giving Transformation Weekend a lot of credit. And of course, we do a lot of really cool things at Transformation Weekend. But all Lily did was become who Lily really was deep down anyway. So yeah, super incredible.
Wait, there's like a lot to unpack here. There's a lot we got to get into. But this podcast is called the Get the Hell Out of Debt podcast. So I want to hear a little bit too about your money journey. So what situation and shape were you in back in 2016 when you met Erin?
Really bad shape. I suffered a really severe back injury in 2015, and I lost my job, and I was dating someone and he left, and I had some savings, but not a whole lot. I was just kind of getting back on my feet after a divorce a couple years before, and I had to move out of my house. So I had just bought two houses the year before, and just to be extra careful, I rented out my house I was living in. I moved to the probably the cheapest place in my whole city I could find so I could save money on housing. And yeah, it was absolutely terrifying because I'm self-employed, so I don't qualify for any employment insurance. I don't get child support. I could not even get welfare if I needed to because I owned property. And if I sold my properties, I would have owed money on it because they were newly purchased. So it was a pretty bad situation.
Yeah, that sounds tight. Things were tough.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So what do you do for a living?
I'm a nurse and a landlord. I'm a makeup artist, and I take care of kids with complex medical needs, and I do acting sometimes. I have a whole bunch of kind of side hustle things going on.
Yeah. Do you have time for yourself? Gosh, that sounds busy.
Yeah, I do. I make time for myself.
Good.
She
Atta girl.
is the most impeccable. Sorry, Lily, I keep interrupting to talk to Carrie.
No, tell me.
Lily
Tell
and
me
I
some
talk
more.
well, and like I just don't go around telling people about people, but since we're bragging about you here, I thought I would, right? Lily is the best time manager I've ever met because you know the saying like if you want something done, give it to a busy person. It's like if you want something done, you give it to Lily. She she's sort of like breezing past this like I'm a nurse, I take care of kids with complex medical. She has them living in her house. She's
What?
yes, like she's looking after them. When she says looking after them, she's looking after them 24/7. And I'm talking complex medical conditions,
Oh my
like
gosh,
really
Lily.
extreme. Yes. And she does it all with like poise and grace and love and kindness. And then on top of that, she has a daughter who sort of helps because her daughter is really incredible. But her daughter has her own crazy high list of achievements. Like her daughter, I'm sure is going to be the prime minister of the country in a couple of years. Like,
She doesn't
is
want to do that anymore.
she doesn't want to do it? No. Well, good. I'm glad she doesn't. She's got higher aspirations, I'm sure. But Lily, has to manage all these schedules for these kids. So like doctor appointments and all kinds of appointments, right? And then extracurricular and like school and homework and whatever. So then when she's like, and I do a bit of acting, like she's done major movies. Like she, when Lily sets her mind to something, she finishes it. So it is not a surprise to me that when Lily decided she was going to turn her financial life around and get the hell out of debt, that she did it.
That's incredible, Lily. Tell me a little bit about your daughter. Let's do that before we talk money. Tell me about your daughter. How old is she?
14.
Ooh, teenager. How is that going?
Really good so far. We're really, really close. I'm really grateful that we have a really close relationship where she still wants to spend time with me. I went to a concert with her last year. I don't even remember who it was. It was like a young person's band. And everyone at the stadium was like preteens or teenagers. And I think I was the only parent I saw, and she wasn't embarrassed to be with me. I felt really cool.
Oh, that's so nice.
Cool. I felt like it. So
What have you taught her about money?
I tried to teach her what I've learned so far, and she's not the best at saving now. So,
She's
What?
really smart. And the thing with teenagers is they really aren't the best at saving because their brain
no.
development is very egocentric, which means they really are only focused on what they want and what they want right now. And so teenagers are already naturally really impulsive. But what's cool, what Lily's doing, which is really wise, is like when you expose your kids to that over and over and over again, eventually it will make sense. If you try one time and it doesn't work and you give up, that's when you run into problems. So I'm not at all worried about Lily's daughter. Literally
Yeah,
not worried at
she
all.
wants to learn about real estate investment. She's really into that lately. So I'm excited for her to learn more about that.
Oh, it's if only we knew somebody like Auntie Erin that could teach her a few things.
Yeah.
Well, Lily's a really wise real estate investor too. I'm sure that'll come up in her get the hell out of debt journey. But Lily's made some really smart real estate decisions. And like she said, like at the beginning, if she had sold her property, she was underwater. And so she realized, listen, if I just wait out a couple of market cycles, I'll be in a much better position in the future. And so she really worked the system as best she could and did the things that we teach over and over again. And of course, I'm sure encountered some major obstacles along the way, but
Yeah, I was going
was
to say, tell us
always
about that. How was it when you were getting started? What were some of the obstacles that you had when you were starting to pay down your debt?
Well, one thing that everyone thought was very odd. So I was living in probably the cheapest housing I could find in Calgary as a tenant. And then I was a landlord for two single family properties. So people thought I was crazy. They were like, something was really wrong with me. And it's definitely not the usual road I think people would take, but by being resourceful and doing something different, it kept me above water and helped me get through the hard times. And
Erin's
I
tearing in the background. I was going to say, this is what Erin says to do. She tells anybody that's sort of stuck real estate wise that that's exactly what you should do, is that the properties that are actually valued at something, rent those suckers and make some serious money on them. And you can just do it for a short amount of time, right? Where you're living somewhere that might not be your ideal location.
Yeah, and I don't have any ego about where I live, whatever. So if people had any issue with it, I just, it kept me going. So yeah, I don't have anything to prove to anyone. So
That's amazing.
do you want more? I know you do. Why wouldn't you want more? More
More
of this,
what? What do I want more of?
more of this. Come hang out in the online course for Get the Hell Out of Debt. The link is in the description. You just got to click it, sign up, and we'll see you in there.
Okay, so you were using real estate. What else were you doing to help pay off your debt? What did you do?
I wasn't making any profit at that time on the rentals. It was kind of just covering the costs, but I was not able to work as a nurse because of my injury. And so I took some courses in aesthetics, and I was able to do some work with medical aesthetics that kind of tied me over.
Mm-hmm.
And that really helped a lot. And just like odd jobs, I was driving things for people, doing deliveries in exchange for clothing. And I was doing things like teeth whitening treatments. So for a mechanic once, I did teeth whitening treatments, and then he did an oil change for my car in exchange. So just things like that. and just living really, really, really cheaply. Um, yeah, it really helped a lot. I cut my costs completely to bare bones. I used this thing called the Good Food Box, where you can order fruits and vegetables for a lower cost, and started cooking at home. I didn't really eat out at all.
Yeah, so smart.
So it
You're
kind
so
of kept me.
resourceful.
Yeah, I did use up all my savings though, and I did get into some debt though because of that situation.
Mhm.
So uh, it did take a while to clear it out completely.
So tell me about what length of time are we talking here for you to pay off your debt?
Probably, I would say about 4.5 years.
Hmm. And you paid
Mhm.
off how much?
It was around 110,000 in total. So
Good for
Okay,
you.
I'm interrupting again because I think that this needs to be said. Sorry, Lily. This is Lily's podcast. And I'm like, and then let me just
You know,
interject.
Lily, let me tell you though, Erin just sent me like a short note before. She said Lily is the most humble person that I know. So she's not going to say very many things about herself. So just be prepared. She knew that she was going to have to come in as your cheerleader because you weren't going to do it yourself.
Well, and so I think the point that needs to be said is Lily paid off $110,000 in 4 years
Amazing.
and also went on trips, paid cash for things, like took her daughter. And I
Hmm.
think that's important to know. One of the things Lily was exceptional at is going, what actually matters to me, and putting those things at the top of her priority list, and then figuring out a way around the things that weren't really as important, like maybe where she lived, right? And what's really brilliant about all of that is I think if you look at Lily's life, like a lot of people might look at Lily and go like, oh, well, lucky Lily, like she had this happen and she had this, but like she also nearly died in El Salvador. She had, I mean, she had a back injury that would have taken most people out for life. And she just stayed positive and she worked it and did as much as she could with what she could,
Mhm.
cultivated her resourcefulness and has lived a really, really great life. And now, is debt free and building wealth with that same bit of resourcefulness and the same bit of like I guess, sort of attunement with what really matters to herself. And on top of that, I say all that, on top of all those things, she also, which I was waiting for her to bring up and she hasn't yet, she's the most charitable and generous person. She does food hampers. I've seen you do menstrual products for girls. I've seen you do, like, you do probably there's a whole section of her house right now, isn't there, with like donations and stuff that you
yes, it's my house looks like a warehouse.
So when I
Yeah.
say this, like the spirit, I think the lesson from this is the spirit in which Lily lives is really the lesson here. Like that's the most amazing part about all this. Okay, I'm gonna shut up now. You guys keep talking.
Okay, well, tell me about your phase three life now. So you're in phase three and now you're building wealth. Tell me how that's going for you.
So I paid every single cent of my debt last year, like a few months ago. It was paid in full and it feels really good. So I did just take some more debt on, but it's for a real estate deal, so I feel okay about it. And I was planning to do something. I had my eye on some real estate I wanted to purchase, but then some things changed, which made me have some second thoughts about that particular property. So I actually signed up for a real estate investment conference next month, and I'm going to go there and learn, ask a lot of questions, and then really think a bit more strategically with my new knowledge about what might be the best thing to look for to invest this money. And I've never had money in stocks, so that's something I'm trying to get into. I did attend one of Erin's online calls about investing in stocks, so I am trying to research and learn more about that. So I've made an account already, but I haven't decided what to put money into. And I'll be putting some money every month into that.
I have no doubt that you'll do super good at that too, because it just feels like whatever you tackle and decide that you're doing, you accomplish it. It's amazing.
I think that's the probably the question we need to be asking you, Lily, is like how do you, when you set your mind to something, what is the thing that drives you that makes you do
Mm.
it? Because that's the piece where most people give up. What would you tell somebody who is struggling?
Think I grew up in severe poverty, and I grew up with nothing really. Like a lot of times we didn't even have the bare basic needs met. And so when I suffered the back injury a few years ago, and then, I had to suddenly move from my house. It's not an extravagant house by any means, it's a simple house, but I moved to a building that was set to be knocked down. So it was not in the best condition, and it was like a one room apartment. And I slept on the kitchen floor on a mattress so my daughter could have the bedroom. And it didn't really bother me because I came from nothing, so that you can't really go lower than that, if that makes sense. So I think just having come from a background where, you know, you were just grateful to have even enough food to eat sometimes, or, I remember how excited I would be if I would get something the equivalent of a Walmart outfit that was brand new. I would think, like, oh my God, like it was the best thing in the world. And so I don't know. I think you realize what's important to you. And I had like friendships. I had really good friendships that I've had for most of my life. And, I still had those relationships. And I think that kept me going because that's the most important thing. And it's funny because I told my daughter when we moved from our house, and then we didn't really have any money, and we moved to that kind of crappy apartments in downtown. And I said, like, thank you for being so good about it, everything, and understanding because of all the struggles we're facing. And she goes, oh, like, what do you mean, Mom? What struggles? And she didn't even realize we like severely downgraded her life. Like, she didn't even notice.
That's
So that's where I felt like a winner because um, I realized that she didn't value material things really, and just I think having things that matter, like the relationships and our close bond and just spending time together and things like that, were more important than anything else. And I think as I get older too, like I've had some relationships that were very unhealthy and toxic and abusive. And I think I've been criticized so much. I've been bullied. I've been put through severe emotional, mental abuse. And I, I think I just don't care anymore. Like nobody can say anything to me or like roast me or make me feel worse than I've already felt in my life. So I don't care anymore. And I have nothing to lose. So,
right. Amazing.
I love that attitude. I've got like tears in my eyes. Like you made me get
I
tears.
told you she's amazing.
Yeah. Whew,
She's
I gotta.
amazing.
And
This is
I'm
like,
I'm old now. I don't care. I just don't care anymore. I'm just gonna do what makes me happy. And if it doesn't hurt anyone, and I'm okay with the consequences, then I'm just gonna go for it.
hmm.
Atta
What
girl.
were some of the sort of obstacles you kind of faced along the way? Like, so you've set this goal, you want to become consumer debt free. And by the way, in phase three, you're allowed to take on debt. So it's not like you're not back in debt. You're building wealth. So there's a different type of way we handle debt in phase three. So I wanted to just address that. But in when you're in phase two and you've kind of got like, this big massive goal that you've got, and it can sometimes feel overwhelming. What were some of the like bumps along the way, that like obstacles that came up that tried to take you away from your goal?
I did still do some fun things. Like travel is really important to me, and that kind of keeps me going. So I did have money for travel, but I also had a friend who worked for an airline, so I got a lot of very good deals for travel, which was nice. I think it was hard at times saying no to things, and then you get that fear of missing out. But I did say no a lot of the time. I did get to attend a lot of events and things as a volunteer. So that was cool. I still felt like I got to go out, but I'd go for free and just help out. I think it was really scary if something went wrong. Like when I had my back injury and I was kind of, barely surviving at that time. I didn't really have it much for savings. It was kind of at the beginning. And then the one house I was renting out, it flooded. And that was my breaking point. I think it flooded. My tenant had just moved out. It was like June 1st or something. And then I was showing it to prospective tenants, and I went in the basement and the whole basement is flooded. And that was awful. So I paid some friends and it did a lot of DIY and we fixed it. And then as soon as we changed all the drywall, it flooded again. And I was like on the floor just bawling and crying. And I just felt like that was the lowest point. It was so awful. And my daughter was with me because she was helping me paint the walls. And she said, Mom, she's like, it's okay. She's like, you're a baller. She's like, stop crying. And she's like, no. She's like, actually, just cry. And when you're done, I'll be here painting. You come and join me. And I was, oh my God.
She's so smart.
She's amazing. I'm telling you.
You've done such a good job with
She
her.
was like 6, I think. So
Wow.
I got so much strength from her to keep going too, because I wanted to show her that, we're not going to give up and we can just keep going. And yeah, she was my motivation a lot of the time. But sometimes, there were a lot of things like that that happened. I feel almost like tests. And I just there's a lot of crying. But
Mhm.
somehow everything worked out.
We
Yeah,
used to say,
somehow I find like another job or something I could do, or yeah, it just somehow worked out.
we used to say all the time that when you decide and you set your goal, two things happen. The first is that you get tested, and the second is that the universe conspires to help you, but not until you've proven that you want it bad enough. So it's almost like the universe says, are you sure you want to be $100,000 out of debt? Are you sure? Let's just see. And it puts these temptations or tests or trials in front of you. And then when you are like, yes, then the universe is like, well, I'm not messing with Lily. I'm getting out of her way. I'm going to go bug somebody else, because you almost like leap over or get out of the way of the obstacle. So no other obstacles even want to mess with you. And I think that that was what that crying situation was all about. Right. And I do think you just have to cry it out sometimes and have a little temper
Yes.
tantrum, then move
Yes.
forward.
That's what we all need.
Yeah.
Don't you love a good cry once in a while?
Oh,
Come
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
It's like cathartic. Let's get it out. Let's let all the boogers, everything. Just let her go. I don't think Lily has boogers like I
Lily
do.
does not have
Just
any, I know, not a hair out of place at this point.
I
She does
think
not.
you like a movie star crying, Lily. Meanwhile,
Oh,
I'm like
no, no.
Oscar the Grouch.
No, I'm the ugly crier. It's sad.
I don't believe it. Not for a second.
For people that are listening to this podcast, Lily is also the most poised, elegant. Well, part of it is because of pageantry, I'm sure, but she just is gorgeous and elegant. And when I first met you, I seriously thought you were 20. And then you said you had a daughter who was 6. And I was like, look at this, from teen pregnancy. Like, I was like, amazing. But doesn't Lily, like right now, you look 30 years old, Lily.
Oh.
So that's why Carrie's teasing you, because you're perfectly put together as always. Okay, so what were some of the things that you did that you're really proud of? What were some of the big money decisions where you're like, wow, I'm starting to get this?
Definitely buying the 2 houses. I did not think I could do that. And a lot of my friends at the time, they tried to talk me out of it. And it was actually my mortgage broker. She believed in me and she said, you know what, you have enough income, you can manage this just fine. And I owe her so much just for believing in me. And I'm so thankful I was able to keep both houses through the crisis. And now I have equity in both. So it was amazing. I could have easily lost them throughout the past. Yeah, it's been almost a decade now since I bought them, but that's something I'm super grateful for.
Yeah. And it's just been one of those things that you have, in addition to being a landlord and it helping you and getting you equity, you've also been such a great landlord. Like, you are not somebody who would treat tenants inappropriately. You've always taken really good care of your people. And I think that shows up also in your results.
I try to. I'm keeping the same rents from 2016 for my tenant now,
Which is
and so it's
unheard of. That's unheard of.
I hope I won't have to raise it if my interest rate goes up at the renewal, but think I have another year at least at this rate, so I'll try. It's a really bad situation for a lot of people right now, so
Mhm. Yeah. And
yeah.
I mean, you don't have to even, depending on what your mortgage situation is, right? Like charging market rent is acceptable when, you've got to be able to cover your costs and make a bit of cash flow to, for future repairs or whatever. But you would not jack up you know what I mean? Like there's some landlords out there that would be like, oh, well, the vacancy rate's so low, I'm going to ask for double what appropriate market rent would be. And that's just not who you are.
Well, I mean, it is a business, but for me personally, I'm looking at it as like the long game where, you know, I'm hoping never have to sell that house.
Mhm.
I'm hoping to never have to sell, well, either property, I guess, and just have them as rentals in the future, or pass them to my daughter and see, what happens. But I think if you have a tenant who you trust, who treats your home like their own home, I think that says a lot rather than just switching people over all the time trying to make a buck. I think it can bite you in the butt in the long run.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
I agree.
you know,
Okay, wait, do you have a crown?
I have a crown. Yes.
Okay, like, I mean, all of this stuff is lovely, and I'm sure these people are great, but I want to talk about the crown.
Carrie, I don't know if you know this, Lily. Carrie was the Creston Blossom Princess in 1992,
Oh, wow.
something like that. Yeah.
That's
Give us the wave.
amazing.
Here's the thing. I'm pretty sure we can't put me in the same category as Lily, just FYI. But I mean, Lily, never mind. I take that back. I am your visiting royalty right now.
Carrie has a wave. I got in trouble one time. She says you have
Great.
to elbow,
Lily,
elbow.
I was gonna say, Lily, have you been on a float before? Have you been
Yes,
in?
I have. I have.
Okay,
I
excellent.
was
So
waving and I had my crown and it's so fun.
good. I'm gonna need to see some photos, and you and I can talk all things pageant at another time.
Okay.
Lily is like, I'm telling you, we are going to be cheering her on in some big fancy televised thing at some point in her life because she
Yeah.
is truly
I want to
royal.
know when the next one is, Lily. Tell me about what's coming next. Are you doing some more stuff in that
Yeah,
field?
I am considering another one, but
I think
yeah,
it's top
if you
secret right now.
happen, so
Will you tell us when it happens so that we can make sure that we're there to cheer you on? And
I
then
will.
by there, I just mean, like Erin and I are going to get together and wear sweatpants and eat popcorn and watch you from a distance.
No, I do. I show up to her pageants. There was one in Calgary. I don't remember. I think it was Miss Calgary. I
Yeah.
showed up, I brought friends. I was loud, which is probably why it didn't go very well. They were probably like, this girl has hooligan friends. So I've learned now I need to have more
Oh,
decorum at these events, but
Yes, you
I
need
will
to be
go.
more reserved.
Yeah.
Erin,
that one was awful. It was the first time I did a pageant, and my daughter was watching at the back, and she goes, "Mom," she said, "you were having a seizure on stage because I was shaking so much." I was so
oh,
scared. It was so
I was like, this is rigged because Lily was the most articulate. And
no.
even though she's
I
claiming she was nervous, you did
I
great.
almost ran off the stage crying. It was awful, but I just kept doing it, and it got easier every
Yeah.
time.
yeah, well,
See?
that goes to show you get out of your comfort zone because most people would run away and never come back,
Yeah.
like me. My hands up. Okay, Lily, tell us about what your plans are now. Like, if you picture life in 10 years from now, what do you see?
So I did make one real estate purchase in cash last year, and my plan right now is to have five real estate investments in total. So I'm working on one right now, and then I'd like to get one more. And that's my plan, like real estate wise.
Mhm.
And I'm actually hopefully attending a social enterprise conference in March. And I am working on doing events for young people and women. We just had one a couple of weeks ago making vision boards, and it was a really big success. People really liked it, which was nice. I've rented an office space in a co-working area, and we have access to a meeting room. So I'm starting to work on that, just doing different events. I would like to do public speaking in the future, and yeah, a lot more traveling. later on. I'm right now, my main goal until I guess for the next 3 years or so is to support my daughter as she goes through high school and help her with her goals of going to whichever university she applies to. And then after that, I think I just have to take stock of where I am. I do love my job, what I'm doing, caring for the children with medical needs, but it is 24/7.
Mm.
I don't know if I could ever stop doing it though.
Yeah, I
But
was going to ask you if you plan to retire and what that looks like, but I just feel
I
like
don't
you might be
know.
one of these people that doesn't.
I don't know. I think I don't know if I could ever completely retire. Maybe I could just do respite care.
Just.
I don't know. I think I'm open to different things, even possibly moving to another country when my daughter leaves home, but I'll have to see, I guess, kind of what happens along the way.
Yeah, well, I think the world is a better place because of the lilies that are in it. That's for sure. Okay, I just want to wrap up by asking you two more things. One, if somebody was on the fence and wasn't sure if they should join this get the hell out of debt community, what would you say to those people?
Yeah, do it. Do it. I had horrible money habits. I learned really poor money management and just the worst habits you could ever have were modeled to me. And I didn't think I could ever change. I really didn't. And I fumbled so many times, but I got it in the end and it changed my life
Hmm.
completely.
Okay, and two, tell me what Erin means to you.
Wow. Now I'm gonna cry. So like
Weird, 'cause I'm
actually
right here.
Now we're all gonna cry. Oh
don't
no.
ask me that. I'm sorry. Like a lot.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'm there too.
Yeah, my life like completely changed. So over the last few years, like completely because of the lessons you brought to everybody. And I don't know, just yeah, learning um these changes, like mindset changes and how to do goal setting. And I had no idea before. I kind of grew up on my own. I never had any role models at all, no adult role models, and I didn't really know what to do ever. And by just having these tools, I can't believe how my life is now. Like I can't believe it. It's like everything I could have dreamed of and more. Like I'm so grateful. And I'm sorry.
What I turned into Rudolph there. My nose went right bright red. Um, what I think is so beautiful about that is, you didn't have the role models necessarily that you needed growing up, but you became the role model that you needed for so many other women, particularly young girls. We didn't even get to talk about your makeup company that you created, and the work that you do with young youth who are marginalized in many different ways. And so we didn't even get into any of that stuff. There's so much more, Carrie. Like we should have literally a 12 episode podcast series called Lily's Life. But I just think it's so cool because you are living proof that like it's really not about what happens to you in life. It's what you make of what happens to you. And you are such an incredible role model for, I'm sure, even everybody listening, but just everybody that you've touched through the years. So I am so proud of you and I am so grateful that you're in my life. And I just feel really honored that I've been able to witness and walk this journey with you because it's been so inspiring to me. I'm a Lily fan forever. Like I sing your praises
Me
everywhere
too.
I go. I'm a Lily fan for life.
Well, yeah, I'm sure you've seen like where I was at in 2016. So, and yeah, it's just I can't even believe it. I can't believe that this is my life. I just can't.
Well, I know we jumped all over the place with that interview, but she is so remarkable. You can't succinctly, chronologically capture her life or her achievements.
I haven't come down from my tears yet. I'm still like, they're still coming out of my eyeballs. They're still squirting out over here.
Here's me all the time. I'm like, you need to feel your feelings. Just let them. And then you do that to me. And I'm like, okay, moving on.
Yeah. Dead puppies, all the things
Snot
that we
is
tell
like,
ourselves. Yeah. But she was beautiful. She's like crying and she was movie star beautiful. And meanwhile, I'm like horking on my sleeve. Ugh.
she is movie star beautiful. And she is insanely humble. And we probably touched on 8% of her accomplishments. She really, I don't even know how to describe people like her because I've only met a couple in my entire life.
Mhm.
But she's the type of person who doesn't inspire you with words or quotes or whatever. She inspires you with her entire life. Like it's not just about what she says, it's about how she shows up and how she serves and how she gives and how generous she is and how grateful she is for everything. And I think one of the reasons she is so blessed and not without problems because we all have challenges and whatever throughout our whole lives, but her growth has been so exponential is because of how grateful she is for every little thing. And if that's a lesson that we can learn on how to turn your life around, it's to be as grateful as Lily for sleeping on the kitchen floor so that you can make your goals happen, so you can provide a life for your kids.